It's going to be quite some act to follow. Sorry about this. This is going to be a bit more serious, and also I'm going to be talking mainly about the consequences in the global south of glyphosate, and not so much about the environmental consequences, but the effect on human societies. So, the use of herbicide glyphosate by Sheffield Council is not only important for our health and environment, it is also an issue of global justice. The agrochemical industry, of which Monsanto Bayer, the producers of glyphosate, are owners of, has significant impact on the lives and livelihoods of people in the global south. So Sheffield City Council, in declaring a climate emergency and nature emergency, must now act on both of these. Local decisions have global implications, but these global implications need to be addressed consciously and together. Agrochemicals are toxic. So in the global south, 385 million farm workers are poisoned annually. That's 44% of all farm workers and 89% in some less developed countries. And as well as those acute and severe illnesses, there are over 11,000 deaths and millions more chronic illnesses such as cancer. And these chemicals weren't requested by farmers in the global south. Huge northern multinational corporations forced them upon them. Corporations that Vandana Shiva very appropriately describes as the poison cartel. For some began their existence developing the gases used in the Holocaust and adapted those chemicals of genocide into chemicals of ecocide. And that poison cartel consists of three main conglomerates, absolutely huge concerns. Monsanto Bayer, the producer of glyphosate, but also the owner of patents for seeds, which prevents farmers from having access to their own seeds all around the world. Syngenta Chinachem, responsible for paraquat, which is banned here, but sold openly in the global south. And DuPont Dow, who were responsible for the Bhopal tragedy in 1984. And these are truly powerful forces shaping the economies of less developed countries and livelihoods of small farmers, which form the backbone of food and agriculture throughout this global south. Small-scale farming is responsible for 80% of all food production, and that's why those who want to make a profit are challenged by this. So from the time of the Green Revolution, the seed companies, the agrochemical companies, and the food distribution companies have worked together to break apart the small farming systems. That is crucially what Monsanto Bayer, responsible for glyphosate, do. And that multi-pronged attack forces farmers into dependence upon inputs, keeps prices so low that they are forced into increasing use of those inputs, creates economies so weak that it's impossible to monitor the effects of those inputs, and farmers so poor that even when they become ill, they're forced to work. So that is the human cost. The environmental cost is these products, like glyphosate, are increasing water use by tenfold in agriculture. That is water scarcity. It's turning soils into deserts. It's destroying biodiversity, losing birds, pollinators, earthworms, all depleted. And wealth is siphoned off, and the impact of debt is high levels of farmer suicide throughout the global south, but particularly in places like India. So the impact by Monsanto on the global south should be a central part of our challenge to Sheffield City Council. The use of glyphosate by our council not only fills the coffers of this toxic multinational, but it also gives the message that it's safe and legitimate management choice, and it's not. For one thing, how can you begin to acknowledge the detrimental impact of this on farmers in the global south while still using it to maintain plant-free pavements here? How can you oppose glyphosate being sprayed as a desiccant at the point of harvest, just before we get to eat this stuff, while still using it on our highways? How can we resist GMO-ready Roundup crops, whilst glyphosate-ready crops whilst not opposing the chemical itself. Glyphosate-induced kidney failure was responsible for 200,000 deaths in Sri Lanka and illnesses and 40,000 deaths. Following this, the Sri Lankan government became the first country to ban glyphosate, and our council has to follow that lead. Sheffield City Council needs to support the small farmers in the Global South who are severely threatened by the poison cartel, not increase that cartel's profit. They need to recognise agricultural knowledge of indigenous peoples who have shown the way to grow food without these inputs. That is what the farmers' protest in India is making clear right now. Banning glyphosate would be powerful support to those farmers. We need to reverse the direction of travel away from ecocide. Global justice demands that. So we need to support the voices of those in the Global South who are calling for a ban on glyphosate in public spaces. Justice for millions of people affected by this council will be served if our council takes action today. So ban it today. Sheffield City Council declare a ban on glyphosate today. But finally, we need to be absolutely clear that it will not be a victory if Sheffield City Council declares a ban and that is end of story. The campaign must go on for its global eradication, along with a fundamental change to industrial agriculture which demands its use. Unless we do so, Bayer will dump their product onto the Global South, just as Syngenta have done with paraquat, and like those companies producing tobacco, thalidomide, formula milk and dum-dum bullets. Thank you.